Hello and welcome back to Katie's Business Tips. Glad to be with you. Michael Lapede here, and we're going to get into a little series about incorporating and what it takes to incorporate. We're going to start with the advantages of incorporating, which we talked a little bit about in the last video series, but we're going to dive in a little deeper here. So incorporating your business can be done federally, or it can be done provincially. And it really depends on, do you want to secure the name across the country or just in a province? Are you looking to set up locations and businesses across the country or in specific provinces and so forth? So you might look at provincial versus federal as part of the incorporation and why you would want to do one or the other. We could help you make that decision. Now, why is it important to incorporate your business when you're eligible? Because you could lose the name, of course. You could lose the opportunity of tax savings. You could lose the opportunity of liability protection. So if you know it's time, don't delay. If you incorporate federally, then you would also need a name or what they call an extra provincial registration in the provinces you're going to operate in. So if you go, federally, I'm going to start in Alberta, but then I want to go to BC next, and then I want to go to Ontario. So we start with a federal corporation, let's say, with an Alberta extra provincial. Then when you're ready, we do the BC one and so forth. And we track all that accounting separately. Income, expenses, assets, liabilities are all tracked separately per province, actually. Particularly the income and expenses, because that's where it's taxed. Now, federal corporations are recognized typically globally, not just in Canada. So again, you also want to consider, if you're going to expand internationally, you definitely probably want a federal corporation. And federal corporations also have the options to have their business address anywhere in Canada, so you can move it around, whereas provincial, you have to have that location in that province. Now, corporations have more access to capital than most other structures. Limited partnerships are the only other one that you could probably raise good capital with other than corporations. And typically banks are more apt to lend to a corporation than most other types of entities. Now they might want a personal guarantee until the corporation has its own credit, but it's usually advantageous to borrow through a corporation if you need the capital. Corporation tax rates are generally lower than personal taxes. In Alberta, for example, we pay 11%. Some provinces as low as 9% on active income up to $500,000 net. That's very low. Now, shareholders are also not responsible for most corporations' debts other than things like GST and payroll or anything they personally guarantee. That's the nice thing. So it offers that liability protection from all the assets, the liabilities inside the corporation. The shareholder is not liable for them. And because they're a separate entity, you can actually treat them over time as an artificial person, as a separate entity, to gain its own credit and gain its own assets and so forth. So it can build its own status in the system to be able to be recognized, so that when you go to a bank, they recognize the corporation. They're not just recognizing you as an individual. Okay? And corporations live on when you pass away. When you want to sell the corporation, move on from the business, you can keep going, whereas a lot of other business entities end when the key person is done, right? So corporations can live on. So there's a lot of advantages to incorporations. And what we're going to do in the next video, we're going to talk about, organizing your corporation after you get it set up. What does that look like? What does it look like to set it up, and what does it look like to get going with it? If you got any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Please post in the comments below. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.